A friend wears perfume to lunch and you have a headache by dessert. You eat a spicy meal and spend the next 2 hours vomiting or really nauseated. You walk past a Bath and Body Works at the mall and your brain fogs over for the rest of the afternoon. Does any of this sound familiar? You take your bra off at the end of the day and the strap has left a deep red welt across your back that takes a good 45 minutes or longer to fade away. You have been told you are picky, you are dramatic, you are oversensitive, or maybe you're just anxious. So, these are some complaints that I hear from women, not only who are my patients, but are in my circle, and I have also experienced myself. So, you are not any of those things, and you are not being reactive. And there is a measurable chemical reason your body is doing this. I'm Dr. Stasha-Gae Roberts, nurse practitioner, veteran, BHRT certified, and the founder of Compassion Primary Care. So, we are going to start week 2 of a four-part series discussing mast cell activation and histamine receptor patterns in midlife women. So, last week I walked us through what mast cells are and what's happening when they are hyperactive, and what is this cause of the 3 a.m. heart pounding cascade that many of us experience. If you have not seen that one, the link is in the description. I would recommend that you go and check it out. Today, I want to show you how the same chemistry shows up everywhere else. So, fragrances, spicy food, your bra strap welts, bowels that have been labeled IBS for years, all of it, one chemistry, different rooms in the same body. You are not imagining this, and you do not have to prove that you are struggling to be taken seriously here. So, I want to teach you a self test you can do at home right now while you're watching this. It is called the dermographism test. So, take a fingernail and press it against your inner forearm with some moderate pressure. And what I want you to do, you can draw like a little tic-tac pattern, so a couple of horizontal lines and vertical lines. That's it. Then set a timer for 5 minutes and wait. Wait and see what happens. If after 5 minutes, what you see is a raised pink area that looks swollen where you have scratched, you have dermographism. Dermographism means your mast cells are firing in response to mechanical pressure. Just a scratch, a bra strap, a belt buckle, a waistband, a tight sock, and it is one of the most specific signs of mast cell hyperactivity. And it's actually easy to test. Most clinicians never really look for it. So if your bra strap leaves a welt that takes a long time to fade away, you already have your answer. So now let's talk about what is happening when you walk past someone wearing strong perfume. So these volatile compounds that are found in things like our fragrances, candles, cleaning products, and chemicals directly activate mast cells in your nasal lining and respiratory tract. What happens is the mast cells release histamine, and then the histamine enters your bloodstream. The histamine reaches your brain, and in your brain, there are receptors called H3 receptors. These receptors sit in your central nervous system, and they help to regulate how your brain processes sensory information, as well as mood and cognition. So when there is a surge of histamine from this perfume exposure, it hits those H3 receptors and your brain amplifies this response. So that is going to show up like a headache, that is the brain fog that you experience, that is also the dizziness that some of you may have. That is the fatigue that you have for the rest of the afternoon after just 5 minutes of exposure to this chemical. So it is not avoidance, it's not anxiety. It is actually a measurable physiological cascade that's occurring in your body. Now, let's talk about spicy food. So, capsaicin is the molecule that makes peppers spicy, and it actually binds to a receptor called TRPV1 that sits on the mast cells in your gut. So, in a woman with chronic mast cell hyperactivity, capsaicin triggers another cascade. So mast cells in the gut release their stored mediators. The vagus nerve gets activated, and the result is this nausea, vomiting, sometimes even lightheadedness that can last for hours, again, after just eating a spicy meal. So it's not that you have a delicate stomach, it's not that you are a picky eater. It is mast cells firing through a specific receptor pathway in a body that has lost the ability to regulate itself properly and to quiet itself down. If you have never been able to tolerate spicy food the way other people do, this is good data to take an inventory of what's going on. It could be mast cell activity in your gut. And if your bowels have been a mess for years and nobody could explain it, please listen to this section. So mast cells live densely in your gut. When they are chronically activated, they release histamine that binds to multiple receptors in the gut wall. So this result, depending on which receptors are dominant, can either be accelerated motility, which is diarrhea, or slowed motility, which is constipation. Many women often alternate between constipation and diarrhea over weeks, months, years, or decades. This pattern gets labeled as IBS, and management stops there. But the underlying driver, the mast cell hyperactivity, almost never gets named. Recent research has begun to clearly identify mast cell activation as a primary mechanism in IBS, and even shown that H1 receptor blockade can improve symptoms in non constipated IBS patients, so those who are prone to diarrhea. If you have lived with IBS for years and watched it worsen in midlife, mast cells may be the part of the picture that nobody has talked about. So I do enjoy talking about IBS, unfortunately, because it's so often used as a blanket for all. And what I will say is with IBS, there's usually a reason. So if it's not mast cell hyperactivity, there's some gut dysbiosis, but there's something going on that can be addressing the symptom and helping this individual to feel better. So I want to give you a brief receptor overview because it will help you advocate for yourself better. So this is not school. You don't have to memorize this. We're just having a conversation. And I will cover it again more fully in week 4. So we actually have 4 histamine receptors that matter, if you will. So we have the H1 receptors that live in our skin, blood vessels, and the brain. They drive itching, flushing, fluid retention, and those fragrance headaches. The medications that block H1 are often familiar to many of us. They're antihistamines like cetirizine, loratadine, fexofenadine. H2 receptors actually live in the stomach and the heart, and they are going to drive gastric symptoms and as well as cardiac symptoms. Famotidine is the most familiar H2 blocker, and it is sometimes used short term for mast cell care that's dealing with H2 blockade receptors. But we want to reduce use because it also blocks the absorption of B12, calcium, magnesium, and other nutrients that many women in midlife are lacking in. H3 receptors live in the brain. They deal with cognitive and sensory symptoms. At this moment, we do not have any H3 medications that are widely available. And then the H4 receptors live on our immune cells. So they recruit more inflammation. They are why mast cell activation tends to be self-reinforcing once it gets going. And so this highlights why a single antihistamine often does not fix the whole picture because we have different receptors that are driving different responses, different symptoms. This is the framework most clinicians have never been trained on or trained to treat properly. So the interventions that work for this pattern are the ones that I discussed in week 1, but here the focus is going to look at targeting the receptors to help to decrease the symptoms. So one, we definitely want to reduce the chemical load. We can do that by avoiding our triggers and having a fragrance-free home, fragrance-free personal hygiene products, utilizing mast cell stabilization products such as quercetin, vitamin C, and luteolin. These work upstream from histamine release, targeted antihistamine use under clinical guidance, And so for women with significant skin issues, fluid retention, or fragrance activity, H1 blockade is often part of that picture. Dietary management for histamine rich foods. So, again, avoiding things like aged cheese, fermented foods, leftovers, red wine, certain fish that can increase the risk of that histamine response. Vagus nerve stimulation or regulation through slow breathing, prayer, gentle movement, and parasympathetic activity can be helpful. And progesterone restoration, where clinically indicated, can be helpful as well. So, just as a reminder, I am BHRT certified, and bioidentical micronized progesterone is one of the most impactful tools I use in women, period, whether they have histamine issues or not. But again, everybody is different, and so we take a nuanced approach, a personalized approach. So, here is what I want you to leave with. Sensitive actually sounds soft. It sounds weird. What you actually are dealing with is a chemical or biochemical reaction. Your mast cells, whether it's the H1, H2, H3 receptors, your gut, your nervous system, they're responding to chemistry that other people's bodies can ignore. And so that's not a character flaw or a character trait. It's physiology, basically, it's pathophysiology. And so you don't have to apologize for your reactions. We need to address what is going on and what is driving them so we can help you to feel better. So if the pattern in this video sounds like what you have been living with or maybe not living with and trying to deal with, please book a free, no pressure discovery call. My signature Finally Answered program is a 3-month root cause investigation built for women like yourself who are done leaving appointments without answers and maybe more questions than anything. The discovery call is free. You get to speak with me. It's a real conversation. It's not a sales call. And you'll leave with some tools that possibly you can think about to help you in the future. So book your call. Your link is in the description, or the link is in the description. Compassion Primary Care serves women across the entire state of Florida through virtual care. For those in the Tampa Bay Suncoast region, I do home visits, and I also do in-person care at the Wellness Center of Ellington. So next week we're going to continue, and I want to talk to you about a different version of this chemistry. So the stuck weight. Anyone can deal with that? No matter what you're trying to do, your weight is not budging. So this is an important topic to discuss, and the hormonal and histamine driver behind it that nobody has named for you. This is not your 20s. This is not your new normal. And so I thank you for taking the time to listen to me today. And again, you do not have to prove that you're struggling to be taken seriously here. I'm Dr. Stasha-Gae Roberts, nurse practitioner, and I would love to assist you in nursing your journey to lasting wellness. Take care. Bye bye.